Hello, this is Tamara Buchan with Reclaim Initiative. Welcome to day 13 of the Advent journey of discovery of a whole new world. Advent is a time of waiting, anticipation, of light penetrating in the darkness. It's happening in the natural realm right now, but it's also happening in the spiritual realm. This whole new world is the kingdom age. It's been birthed and it is currently seeking to take its place as the new pathway for how we live. But in the midst of it, there's a lot of breaking down that is taking place. And so part of my goal in these podcasts is to give us a vision for what is to come, some historical background of what led us to this point, and what place we are currently in as we are navigating both the church season and the kingdom age. So today I want to explore the connection between religion and government. And I'm going to go back in history and talk about the Israelites because that's part of the Jewish segment of the Old Testament, which leads to the Christian segment of the New Testament. And now we're in the kingdom age. So when David was king, he built a wonderful palace in Jerusalem, and the Israelites were admired all over the world. And then when his son Solomon became king, he built the temple. And at that point, they had peace everywhere. They had people coming from all over to seek Solomon's wisdom. And the Israelites had the most wonderful palace to worship in. The most wonderful temple to worship in and bring their sacrifices. This point in their history was a revered history that they all wanted to return to. But in first century life, the Jews were not in a place of being at the high point. They were oppressed by the Romans, who oppressed them politically, of course, but also financially with high taxation and with much interference in their daily life. And so the religious leaders sought to get back to the days when Israel was on top. And they were seeking to make the people good enough, holy enough, that the Messiah would come to rescue them from the horrific Romans. They wanted to see it happen militarily, that there would be someone who would rise up, create an army, and overthrow the Romans. That's the vision through which they anticipated their Messiah. But God had other plans. He didn't want to just see them come out from underneath the Romans. He wanted to see a whole people, the whole world, be freed fully, not just from their sins, but from life, to be one with Him, to be one with each other, to live a life of the garden, the way that we are originally designed and meant to live. And I believe that this ability to live the reality of the garden is coming through the kingdom age. And because there was a point where the Jewish religious leaders combined with Rome to see Jesus crucified, that was a very dreadful mistake on their part. And it led ultimately to Jerusalem's utter destruction. And the second temple, which was built after the diaspora to Babylon, was also destroyed. When Jesus said there will be nothing that will remain, it was true. In 70 AD, that took place. And so often, when religion and government combine forces, it doesn't lead towards what we think it's going to bring. Here's another example. After Jesus was resurrected, a new church was born, a new way of being. The New Testament believers were not fully organized around any central place. They didn't have denominations. They were intent on following the ways of Jesus, serving others. In fact, Josephus, who did quite the amazing history, wrote about how during a plague, they would go and care for the sick people, and they didn't get sick. And they became known as ones who were loved and respected and revered by everyone, and it increased their numbers. They were also, women had a place, an important place. In the scriptures, there's a debate about if women are able to be leaders. And yes, it's there. Women were leaders. They were given a voice. There was strong leaders like Priscilla and Lydia who brought much value into this church. But when Constantine had an experience with Jesus, he decided to make Christianity the state religion. And from that point on, things shifted so dramatically because suddenly it wasn't about servanthood. It wasn't about being an organic movement. It became a power structure combined with the government, which made it an even greater power structure. And I have to say, when they combine, nothing good usually happens. Because at that point, the life and the breath and the freedom really left. And suddenly, things became consumed with control and wars, and then minute points that actually created a great schism in AD 1100 and created a mess where people couldn't understand it in their own language. They had no access to the scriptures. So things often look bad from the vantage point, and thinking that we can get more accomplished by cleaning up the culture if we align with government. But I have a caution in my spirit around that, because I think that in this coming kingdom age, it's not going to come through a government. It's not going to take place through cleaning up the culture. It's going to take place as we discover the kingdom of God is within us, and that we each have an important and valuable role to play. And as we bring the heavenly solution that's been deposited into each one of us, all these challenges in the world can be brought forward. They can be overcome by the heavenly solutions that we each bring forward. It's a whole different way of looking at it. It's like turning things backwards so that we can see upwards. It starts with us really understanding how loved we are, how beloved we are, how important we are to God.